8 4 feet under your backyard. Right now, the dirt is sitting at almost exactly 55 degrees Fahrenheit. It doesn't matter if it's 105 on the surface or 20 below. Go down far enough, and the ground stops caring what season it is. And if you run a length of pipe through that zone and pull air through it, you can walk cold air into your living room in the middle of a heat wave without a compressor, without refrigerant, and without a power bill that makes you flinch every August. That sounds like a stretch until you sit with the actual math for a minute. The average household spends several $100s a summer just keeping a machine cold enough to keep a house cold. Central air units break down at the worst possible time. Refrigerant lines leak. Compressors burn out after a decade or two. And every single fix runs through a licensed technician charging by the hour. Meanwhile, the fix that costs less than a dinner reservation for 4 is sitting in the dirt you already own, and almost nobody in a residential neighborhood has ever heard of it. Here's the part that's genuinely strange, though, and it's not a suppressed secret so much as a technique that simply never had anyone selling it. Soil at depth isn't just cold, it's a filter for temperature itself. Heat moves through dirt the way sound moves through a thick wall, slowly and weaker the further it travels. Scientists call the property thermal diffusivity, and in damp soil it's low enough that a heat wave hitting the surface in July doesn't actually reach 4 to 6 feet down until months later. By the time that warmth arrives, the calendar has already turned toward autumn, and the air above it has cooled back off on its own. Your yard is running about half a year behind the weather, sitting on top of it. The chill you'd pull out of a buried pipe in August is, in a very literal sense, February's cold finally showing up to work. This isn't a new idea dressed up as one. Long before mechanical refrigeration existed, builders in different parts of the world were already using the ground itself as a passive climate control system. Dry regions of the Middle East built underground channels to move cool air and water beneath desert heat for centuries. Farmhouses across parts of rural Europe were built with stone-lined tunnels running beneath them for the same reason. Pull air through cold earth before it ever reaches the living space. None of this required electricity, and none of it required anyone to understand thermal diffusivity by name. They just noticed that air coming up out of the ground stayed cool no matter how brutal the day got, and they built around that observation. The reason this fell out of common use in modern construction isn't some hidden villain twirling a mustache. It's simpler and a lot more boring than that. Central heating and cooling became standard in the mid-20th century because it came bundled with an entire supply chain. Manufacturers, installers, gas and electric utilities, warranty programs, replacement parts, and every part of that chain had someone whose income depended on selling and servicing it. A trench in your yard doesn't need a salesman. Nobody manufactures it, nobody services it monthly, and nobody profits when it keeps working for 30 years without a single repair call. Building codes and contractor training followed the money, not the physics, and a technique with no company behind it quietly stopped getting mentioned in anyone's manual. That's not a conspiracy. That's just what happens to a technology with no industry attached to it. It hasn't disappeared everywhere, though. Passive ground-coupled ventilation, sometimes called a ground-to-air heat exchanger or an earth tube, still shows up in modern green building projects across parts of Europe, where it's used to pre-cool or pre-warm incoming ventilation air before it ever reaches a mechanical system. It doesn't replace a heat pump in a humid climate, and nobody serious claims it does, but it takes a meaningful bite out of the load that a compressor has to handle, which is exactly why it shows up in energy-conscious design instead of the average American subdivision. If you wanted to build a basic version of this yourself, the concept is almost insultingly simple. You're running a length of smooth-bore PVC pipe, generally somewhere in the 6 to 8 inch diameter range, buried at a minimum of 4 feet, and ideally deeper, sloped continuously from the outdoor intake down toward the point where it connects into your home. That slope matters more than almost anything else in the build, and it's the one detail that separates a system that works for decades from one that turns into a problem in its second summer. Warm, humid air entering a cool pipe will condense water on the interior walls. That's basic physics, not a design flaw. And if that water has anywhere to pool, it becomes a home for mold and bacteria fast. The fix is a steady grade, something like an inch of drop for every 10 feet of pipe, running to a drain point at the low end, so condensate exits the system instead of sitting in it. Get that detail right, and the moisture never has anywhere to settle. Get it wrong, and you've built exactly the problem critics of this technique like to point to. On the intake end, you want a screened cap to keep debris, insects, and small animals out. On the house end, if you've got forced air ductwork, the pipe can tie into your existing cold air return with a sealed connection, letting your existing blower pull tempered air through it. If you're running window units or ductless systems instead, the tube can feed a dedicated vent into a room, doing the heavy lifting before your existing cooling only has to handle the last few degrees. A small inline duct fan, drawing about as much power as a light bulb, keeps air moving through continuously without needing your main system running at all times. None of this is a permanent, no-maintenance miracle, and it's worth being honest about the limits. Performance depends heavily on soil moisture. Dry soil conducts heat far worse than damp soil, so results vary by region and by season. In very humid climates, dehumidification still matters more than raw temperature, and an earth tube alone won't solve that half of the comfort equation. Local codes on excavation, drainage, and ventilation vary by area, so it's worth a quick check before you start trenching your yard, especially around utility lines. And a poorly sloped or poorly drained pipe genuinely can turn into a mold problem, which is the single legitimate criticism of this whole approach. The answer isn't to ignore it, it's to build the slope correctly the first time. What this really comes down to isn't a secret being kept from you. It's a reminder that the most effective fix isn't always the one with a company behind it, a warranty, and a sales rep in your driveway. Sometimes the better answer has been sitting under the grass the whole time, just waiting for somebody willing to dig 4 feet down and pay attention to what the ground has been doing all along. That's the kind of thinking this channel, Secret Lab, keeps coming back to. Not chasing the newest gadget, but noticing what was already quietly working before anyone tried to sell you something else instead.